So I'm in New Zealand in front of a bunch of Maori elders, and my wife and I are standing there. My friend Pinna says, "You gotta sing, bro." I gotta sing in front of all these Maori elders. I had no idea that I had to sing. I had no idea what I was gonna sing, and I'm put on the spot like that. So I'm gonna tell you the story of that, and this is story time Sundays with the Rev. I'm the Rev, and I'm just gonna be telling stories every Sunday. I missed last week, so I apologize for that. So I go to New Zealand fairly regularly, and I teach jujitsu seminars. Um, and in this particular case, I was visiting my good friend Pinna, and he has done a lot in the Maori community, teaching jujitsu, creating community, giving back to the Maori community. In fact, he runs a national Maori only jujitsu tournament, and so I'm there hanging out with his guys, teaching some of my stuff, and I I tell him I'd like to see the local marae, which is where the Maori people gather for events, funerals, weddings, um, dinner together, community events, and there's this beautiful building with all these incredibly carved posts. They kind of resemble, the Native American totems, and we pull up. He had checked with the elders, and so we pull up into the ground, and I'm really excited. I'd made this sculpture that I was going to gift to the local Maori community, and all the people from my church community here had signed it, and it was a big deal to me. And so we show up, and there's a bunch of cars there, and Pinna goes, I wonder if there's a funeral. Um, and so we decided we're going to go check it out. And we get out of the car, we walk, uh, a few steps up the drive, and we're greeted by a Maori elder, and he tells us that there is a funeral going on. And we said, okay, well, we'll just go and come back another time. Um, and he says, no, you can't. Why? And he says, when your feet touch the ground, you're obligated to come in and show your respects to the family. And so my wife gets out of the car, Pinna's wife gets out of the car. We walk into the funeral, and we're there with the elders of the community and the family, and the casket's up in the front with the family all sitting around it. And what I didn't know until then is that Maori funerals last 3 days. And so during those 3 days, the family sits in mourning, and the people from the community come and they pay their respects. And so we're there, we have to do that. And so we walk up to the family, and we have to greet all of the people from the family, and they're in mourning, and it's a little uncomfortable. I don't even know who the person is. Um, so we clasp arms, and the Maori greeting, you stand nose to nose, forehead to forehead. And the symbolism of that is, for this moment, we're breathing the same air. Um, it's really special, and I really felt a part of something when we did that. But in this situation, it it was a little bit uh, overwhelming. As I make my way around, I wind up to the grandmother of the person that was in the coffin, and so I put my forehead and my nose against her forehead and her nose, and um, she's just this little beautiful Maori woman who had the tattoo that they call the moko um, on her chin, and it was just really special. And I felt the emotion. I was grieving with them, um, and then we go back to the back of the room where the door is, um, and we sit down, and the elders are sitting across from us, and so one of the elders stands up and he says something. He says it in Maori, so I didn't know what he was saying. And then he sings a song in Maori. And then the next person does the same thing. And then the next person does the same thing. And again, and then it comes around the room till it gets to my friend who's sitting right next to me, and the women are sitting behind us. Not sure why that was the tradition, but it is. And uh, so he stands up and he gives a speech in Maori. And of course, I don't understand any of it. And then he sings a song. And then he sits down and he nudges me and says, "You got to say something." Like, really? And he's like, "Yeah, you got to say something." So I stood up, and I'm a preacher, so I can extemporaneously speak. And so I get up and I talk about how, people from different cultures, people, different races, people all over the world are united by a few things. And one of those things is death. No matter where we go, it's a part of the human experience. And it's an honor for my wife and I to be here and to mourn with you people here, and to be a part of the brotherhood of man, um, by paying tribute in this way. And I sit down, and he, and, well, before I sit down, he says, "You got to sing." What do you mean I have to sing? And he says, you got to sing. I was like, "What am I supposed to sing?" And he says, "It doesn't matter. Just sing something. You could sing 'You Are My Sunshine' if that's what you want to sing." Um, and then he leans back and tells my wife that she has to stand up and sing with me. Um, Now, I can do about an hour's worth of songs in an open mic night. Um, you take the worship songs and the other songs that I know, and I could probably do about an hour straight of music. Um, but I could only think of one song, just one. Um, and it's a punk rock song. It's the only thing that comes to my mind. And so I turned to my wife. She goes, "What are we going to sing?" And I said, "The Workers' Song by the Dropkick Murphys." And she goes, "Okay." And so there, standing in front of all of these strangers, you know, my friend sitting next to me, I begin to sing. And I got a bit of a cold. I'm going to do my best, but this is the words that I sang. "This one's for the worker, toils night and day, by hand and by brain, to earn their pay, who for centuries long past, for no more than their bread, have bled for their countries and buried their dead. We're the first ones to starve. We're the first ones to die, the first ones in line for that pie in the sky, and we're always the last when the cream is shed out. For the worker is working when the fat cat's about. And I sat down, and that was that. And then we all got up, and Pinna tells one of the elders that we wanted to give a gift to the Marae. And excuse my dogs, they're getting a little riled up. Um, and there's a process in giving the gift. So they sing a song of greeting, and they talk to us. They talk to us in English as well, and welcomed us, and then they said, uh, you can present your gift now. And so I gave the gift, and I explained what it meant. It was a wood that I had carved, that was that was the kind of wood that I used to make my pipes. And so I carved a fist of resistance. Um, and then my wife had this necklace that was a part of um, the farming community that she worked for. Um, and it was a symbol of the loaves and fishes. And so we put the necklace through the fist, and made a little stand for it. And all the people in my community signed it. And, uh, and I just told them we wanted to offer this gift from my community to your community. And it's a symbol of resistance. And the way that we've learned to stand in resistance is not with violence, but with love. And the symbol of that love is food, and giving and receiving food with one another. And it was beautiful, and they seemed to appreciate the gift. And so we started to leave. Now, I got to tell you, that was an amazing experience. Who would have thought that this white guy from California was going to be able to take part in this very meaningful ceremony with a group of, just beautiful indigenous people, and welcomed into that space. And so I walked away just feeling, so happy, and sad, and honored. It was just a mix of all these emotions as we start walking away. And then the mother of the young man that had died, she comes chasing after us, and she says, you have to eat. And we're like, oh, well, we're just going to go get some food at home. And she goes, no, you have to stay and eat something. And she's very insistent. And she said, just have some tea and bickies, or biscuits, or as we would know it, cookies. And so we went back into the kitchen and dining room, and we sat there, and we ate the cookies and drank the tea. And as we were doing that, she began to tell us about her her son. And her son died of a heart attack at I believe it was 32 years old. And what caused it is he had joined the army that was the Australian Army, and I think the New Zealand Army and the Australian Army team up together, and he had been in Afghanistan. And he came back with one of the most severe cases of PTSD. Um, well, the most severe that I'd ever heard of. And it was actually so horrific that it caused him to have a heart attack, and he passed. Um, so as we're eating, and she's talking and telling us about his life, and again, it's just so honored to be there. I realized that the only song that I could think of when we were there is, we bled for our country and buried our dead. Um, we're the first ones to starve. We're the first ones to die. And later on in the song, which I didn't sing the end verses, they say, when the sky darkens and the prospect is war, who's handed a gun and pushed to the fore, and expected to die for the land of our birth, though we've never owned one lousy handful of earth. And I, I realized that this young soldier had gone overseas and been so traumatized that he was killed just as if he had gotten hit with a bullet. Um, and so this family is dealing with basically the same thing that the song talks about. Um, Dying for your country, um, fighting the wars, bleeding for others. And yeah, it just was really meaningful. It was a very intense situation. And then she explained to us why it was so important that we ate something before we left. And I hope I'm telling this right, but the idea is that the funeral is a sacred place. It's a place where there's a meeting between the spirit world and the physical world. And in that place, um, there's just a joining of the two. And it's important that you ground yourself back into the physical world by eating something before you leave, because otherwise there's like this open door that you carry back into the world with you. So it's important basically to have closure before you leave, which I think is beautiful. I really think that's beautiful. And so we left and we said our goodbyes, and we thanked her for including us in this time. Um, and as we were driving away, Pinna starts to apologize. I'm sorry. They knew we were coming. That nobody told me that that this funeral was happening, and I just told him, hey man, I can't think of a better way for us to be a part of your culture, a part of your life, and the acceptance of us in that very poignant situation. Um, Man, it was so good and so important to me, and I'll remember it for the rest of my life. And you might remember it for a little while yourself. So, anyways, that's another one of my stories, and I hope that you got something from the story. I hope you weren't completely offended by my singing. Uh, I just want to thank you for listening, for being a part of this channel. I hope that you'll share it. I hope that you'll like it. I hope that you'll comment, and be a part of building what I hope to be a community of just um, encouragement. Um, there's enough crappy stories in the world. There's enough garbage. There's enough distraction. Um, I think it's really important that we tell our stories. So going forward, every Sunday I'll tell a story, or I'll have one of my friends come and tell a story about their life. So uh, until, oh, and on Mondays, I have a Bible study where I'm working through the Gospel of Matthew. And if you'd like to join me for that, please do. So once again, thank you for joining me. This is the Rev, and Remember, Rev loves you.